Hello and welcome to IDDTalks here at AD University. My name is Anastasia Lavrina, and now I have a very distinguished guest joining me now from Washington, D.C., Ambassador Richard Hoagland, who is Security and Political Program Chair and Board Member of the Caspian Policy Center. He was also serving as a Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary of State for South and Central Asian Affairs from October 2013 to August 2015. Ambassador, welcome to IDDTalks.
It's my pleasure. Thanks to you.
Thank you so much for being with us today. With you today, I'm planning to discuss the interview of the President Ilham Aliyev to the local TV channels on January 5th here in Baku. And the first question, the President characterized the recent developments in the United States-Azerbaijan relations, including the political end of Section 907 as historic. Well, how significant is this shift from a U.S. policy perspectives?
I think there are massive shifts actually going on in foreign affairs these days. The U.S. has a new administration, 1 year old, unlike any in recent history. And what that is doing is opening the doors to many other countries that we kept at arm's length in the past. I have the strong impression that my government here in Washington is eager to build a stronger relationship with Azerbaijan because it sees Azerbaijan as a significant middle power that plays an important role in the entire Caspian region.
Absolutely. There is no any doubt that the relations between the United States and Azerbaijan is developing, especially since the meeting held in Washington on August 8 in 2025. But again, coming back to the question which I addressed to you before, the political end of Section 907.
Section 907 ultimately has to depend on action in our Congress on Capitol Hill. It would be the House of Representatives who would vote for the change, and they send the bill to the Senate. The Senate votes for the change, and then it goes to the president for signature. So it's a bit of a long process, and it's terribly important for Azerbaijan to find the right people in Congress to lobby and explain why it's important to change this, and also work with our president's advisors. For example, Advisor Witkoff. He would understand this issue and he could talk to the Congress also. Now, going back to the important agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia. Yes, of course, it's been initialed, but not technically signed yet. Nevertheless, I think the world is paying close attention because Azerbaijan is taking what we call the high road. It is already doing things that would not normally have been expected, like, for example, recently selling its oil to Armenia. It has also allowed the transit of Kazakhstani wheat coming across the Caspian to come through Azerbaijan for Armenia. Those are terribly important things. What builds peace for the long term is layers and layers of connectivity, finding all those ways, because in the end, if the economies of the region are more closely linked, it's less likely that there would ever be violence and war because of that. People want to protect their economies. They want to live well. So that's what it's about, I believe.
So, Ambassador, if we're talking about the economic prosperity and new transport links in the region, I cannot avoid the possibility to ask a question about Zangezur Corridor. As President Aliyev stated in his interview to the local TV channels, all prerequisites for the Zangezur Corridor have been resolved. Well, how does Washington view this corridor, which is also being named in Washington as a Trump route for international peace and prosperity, primarily as an economic route for economic development or as a strategic project reshaping the regional geopolitics?
Probably both, but more economic than anything else, because the administration in Washington right now is keenly focusing its foreign policy on economic issues. And so, if the president and his advisors and the major corporations that support him can find investment opportunities along what is now called the Trip Corridor, then that will move forward. Now, there's something else that's happening that is extremely important for Azerbaijan, and that is the unrest in Iran. There are millions of ethnic Azeris in northern Iran. If, this is a big if, but if the mullahs allow just a bit more openness so that things calm down a bit, that opens the door for more opportunities for Azerbaijan then to work more closely with Iran in the region. And that opens new economic opportunities. So the bottom line, I would say, is the world is terribly in transit right now. Big changes coming, things we can't really foresee for the future, but Azerbaijan is playing a very important role in its region.
So, Mr. Hoagland, another question about bilateral cooperation between Washington and Baku. Looking ahead to 2026, do you expect the relations to move from symbolic normalization, as you mentioned, to concrete strategic cooperation, particularly in security and, let's say, regional connectivity?
I'll go in small steps. Let me put it that way. Uh, One thing that probably there's just a little bit of attention being paid in Washington right now is that there was consideration of Azerbaijan participating in the peace force for Gaza in Israel. And in the end, for its own reasons, and that's perfectly understandable, I believe Azerbaijan chose not to participate at this time. We need to remember that in the past, Azerbaijan did participate in Afghanistan with its troops. And so this is probably a technical issue right now, but it's things like that, that one step forward, a half step back, another step forward. Things move slowly and they move in ways that are sometimes unexpected. But Azerbaijan, again, I say, is playing a major role in the Caspian region.
Now, Ambassador, I want to talk about the normalization, the process of normalization, the relations between Azerbaijan and Armenia. There were some significant achievements in 2025, and we still have a hope and expectations from the year 2026. The President Aliyev emphasized that the peace process no longer depends on external mediators. And I guess you will agree with me that much was achieved through the bilateral talks and negotiations in between of President Aliyev and Prime Minister Pashinyan without participation and intervention of the actors from the third countries. So from the US perspective, is a bilateral Armenia-Azerbaijan format can be seen as a format more sustainable, or does Washington still see a role of external facilitation?
Well, I'm sure that it puts the bilateral relationship first and foremost, because that's what's really important. As neighbors sharing a common border in a sometimes difficult part of the world, it's extremely important for Armenia and Azerbaijan to find ways to work together, even if the final agreement has not yet been signed. Now, the United States will pay attention to that, but it probably won't take the lead because, after all, the United States has major, strong relations all over the world, not only with countries, but with international organizations. And so we can't totally focus on just one bilateral relationship. That's why Washington wants Armenia and Azerbaijan to find ways themselves to build their peace and connectivity.
Ambassador, and one more question I have. In the interview, President also highlighted Azerbaijan's expanding role in Europe's energy security. It comes to the energy cooperation in gas and oil spheres. Then it's also renewables, the potential for the enlargement of the scope of cooperation in 2026, the expectations European countries has. And a lot of talks is going around the importance of fossil fuels in the policy of the United States of America as well, especially since the events happened in Venezuela. How does Washington assess Azerbaijan's energy significance for Europe, and does it affect U.S. strategic calculations?
It's halfway between the two extremes that you just mentioned. Washington would certainly want Azerbaijan to play an important role because of its own hydrocarbon, uh, uh, gas, and oil reserves, but also because of the transit that it provides for others coming across from Turkmenistan, for example, and Kazakhstan, sharing spaces in the Caspian Sea. Now, I don't want to take a long time on this, but it'd be useful for Azerbaijan to continue to try to find ways, for SOCAR to try to find ways with Turkmenistan to get that interconnector built so that Central Asian gas and oil, but especially oil, can go right across the Caspian into Armenia, through Armenia into Europe. That would be an enormous step forward. I know we've been talking about this for 20 years, but the time might be right. Who knows? It's worth looking into it.
Very interesting. Ambassador Hoagland, thank you. Thank you so much for joining IDDTalks today, sharing with us your valuable experience. Thank you.
And with you also, thank you so much for your excellent questions. I look forward to doing this again with you. Thank you.